Hi everybody. Hi everybody. This is Debbie Eno. As I said this morning in my life, I'm teaching online, and it's interesting because this second wave of teaching online is very different from previously, because the first time we didn't know what we were doing. It was new, and we actually the student had a lot of handouts. There were not so much online teaching as it is now. Now we actually full on. We're teaching online as if we are in the classroom. And I just had a group of year 11s. I have not taught 15-year-olds for a while now, and it was interesting to say the least. When I taught them last week, one of the things was they were muting me. They were kicking each other out of the online platform. They were putting my camera off and my camera on. Although I knew how to mute them all, I decided I wasn't going to do that. I decided I was just going to have a conversation with them. And I had a conversation with them, but I just, one or two students. It wasn't everybody's, one or two students. You always have the joker in the pack. And today was interesting, even more interesting. Initially, when I came on, I thought, okay, I'm going to mute everybody and then just unmute them when I want them to speak. But then I was thinking about it as I was going online. And I thought it was better just leaving them all on mute. Just, let them have full autonomy of their session. And they were doing the same thing. They were muting me. They were taking off the PowerPoints. It was interesting to see all of that, because as I say to them, they're acting as year 8 and year 9. That's why the teachers are treating them as children. I try to empower them by telling them that I feel that they need to start taking responsibility. I should not have to mute them all, because I want them to feel free to speak as they want to, etc. But you had the few that were still messing around. At one point, there were siblings coming into the session. There was no point in me actually shouting, telling them off, or any of those. It was a pointless exercise, me even thinking of doing that. I didn't do any of that because I personally didn't feel it was going to serve a purpose. So the more they unmute, the more they mute me, I unmute. And the rest of the class were actually writing in the chat, because I think they identify who it was. So when they were telling that student off, etc. My main focus for part of the lesson was to talk about the students' mental health. Mental health, and the mental health was important to me than anything else, because when I started the session, or when I started at school, I had not asked them about the mental health and how it was for them, the fact that they are now on lockdown, what it feels like, etc. Because this is something I do for all my lessons, just to see where students are at, and how we could actually help them as educators, how we could actually empower them, how we could support them, etc. So it was interesting, because what was coming out was students are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed because they don't know what's happening. They're not too sure if they're having exams, if they're having mocks, etc. And they also feel that teachers or educators are giving them so much work. They're not allowing them to have any free time. They felt they're just working without any break. And the other thing is, the teachers all mute them, because we could take control of muting every student, but I chose not to do that. And I said what the teachers were doing, just muting them all and just give them loads of homework. They don't feel it was effective. So what I've actually gathered from my group of students, this last group, that their mental health is there's some challenges with the mental health, because they were saying, what was coming out was the stress, overwhelm, overwork, doesn't know what to do, the uncertainty, all of that. So what I've actually told them I want them to do is, I give them a few tips, like listening to music, especially classical music, any music that they feel that's calm them down. Also, tell them to go out and walk in nature lunchtime when they have the lunch break. I want them to go out and, go and have a walk and just look at the things that's happening around them. Like what's in nature. I also ask them to, to jump around, to dance around, because we're not able to see them. So if they're in a lesson and they feel that they're feeling stiff or overwhelmed, just get up and stretch. Tell them these are some of the things I want them to do. In my lesson, I give students, although it's a 50-minute lesson, after 25 minutes, I give them between a 2 and a 5 minutes break, because I think it's important that they get up from the sitting position and in front of the screen, because if they were in the classroom, they will not be sitting there for 50 minutes, because we would get them to do group work exercise, or we'll get them to do various things, because I know for me, in my lessons, I get students to walk in groups. So they're moving around, they're walking in groups. I'll get them to feedback sessions. I would get them to do various things. So even though it's a 50 minutes lesson, they're not sitting, still in 50 minutes. And that seems to be what some of them are actually doing, sitting at the computer in front of the screen for 50 minutes. But I say to them, in whatever lesson they have, they need to break that up. They need to get up. They need to, stretch. They need to dance around. They need to do various things that would actually get them to be less stiff and get their mind working again. Because in my session, as I say, after 20 minutes, they have a 2-minute break or 5 minutes break, and then they come back. Because when they come back, I feel as if I'm getting more out of them. Yes, I might have lost 5 minutes, but what is 5 minutes when I'm getting them all to be more focused in the next part of the lesson? So that's some of the things I've actually just experienced with my students. Another thing that was really nice, one of them, yes, I know, because they were, they're online, we're not too sure what they're doing, etc. So one of them actually put in an inspirational song in the chat, which was quite nice. I wasn't even aware of it until, just now I was looking back at the chat, what I wrote in the chat. And that was really nice because, the inspirational song was basically saying to them they could do it and they could make it. So that was quite nice. So when I actually see them in my next lesson, I need to actually commend the child I've done that and, empower them to listen to things like that, because I thought it was quite nice. My win for today, well, there were a few challenges, but, I'm dealing with teenagers. I'm dealing with 15-year-olds, so those are things to be expected. But as I said to them, I am now taking my class over, which means I'm muting everybody in my next lesson. Although it's not all of them that is responsible for, like the disruption, like removing the PowerPoint, like muting me, like, switching my camera off and all of that. But unfortunately, in a situation like that, you cannot allow some students to be muted and some to be unmuted. So I'll have to take responsibility of all of that. My win, students are actually beginning to realize, oh, well, this teacher cares, because she's actually talking to us about our mental health, which no one else have done. So that was quite nice. That's my win, because actually one student actually said, Miss, can I say something? I said, yes, go ahead. And she said, oh, I just want to thank you for looking out for us and for our mental health. That's really nice. We appreciate it. So that was quite really nice, because I didn't even think about that when I was preaching about mental health, because for me, that's one of my passion. As a psychologist, my passion is to ensure that my student mental health is really, really being taken care of. And we are aware of the importance of we actually ensuring that the students' mental health is being looked after, and also educators. And what was also nice as well, a number of them put that in the chat as well, which was quite nice. So that's my win. As much as I had a challenging, what I would perceive as a challenging lesson, anytime I unmute them to talk about the PowerPoint, the PowerPoint go, anytime I unmute myself to ask people to talk. You know, someone have actually left the chat. So it was interesting, but I also felt there was no need to tell them off or get angry about it, because it wouldn't solve the problem. Because I think had I done that, it meant that that's what they would have wanted. So there were no, you know, there were no reaction like that. But the interesting thing about it is 15 minutes before the end of the lesson, that all stopped. So whoever was doing it, I feel I knew which one of the students is doing it. That actually stopped, and they began to, you know, be more proactive in the session. So a number of things I'm leaving you guys with. You need to find your win in every lesson. Because as much as you might find the lesson challenging, there must be a win. There must be something that is positive that you could say, okay, that's my win. That's my win. The universe never gives us all things negative. There's always positive and negative. It is up to us to take a step back and look in and find the positive that is within the negative and celebrate it, embrace it. So educators, I want you to find your win. There is a win there for you. It doesn't matter how challenging you might find your lesson. Find the win. It doesn't matter how small it is. And I want you to celebrate it. I want you to appreciate it, celebrate it, and make it big. Because it's going to empower you, and it's going to remind you as to the reason why you are doing what you're doing in terms of your mission, your purpose, your vision. So those things you need to keep focusing on. As I keep saying, the online platform is not easy, but we need to find a way to make it easy for us so it reduces our stress level. And it enables students to embrace it. Because another thing I said to my student this afternoon was, can you write in the chat how you are finding the online platform? I say whether or not you want to verbally tell me or you want to write in the chat. And what was coming up was the inability to remain focused. And some of them say that online teaching is quite distracting. Some of them say online teaching is quite boring. Some of them say online teaching is lack motivation. And as educators, we feel all of that ourselves. But we have to find a way to make it exciting. And as soon as I keep on finding a way, I'm going to tell you guys. I keep on saying one of the ways I find is, you know, using my hands, and, you know, I'm all over the place, etc. And another thing is giving your students breaks. Teach in chunks, people. Educators, you need to teach in chunks, because the brain only functions in chunks. Because the more you're giving them the whole 50 minutes, do you think they're taking in the 15 minutes of you going on? No, they're not. So you need to break up that 50 minutes in 20 minutes chunks. And then you're going to see the result of, you know, of doing it like that. We need to find ways that work for us and ways that work for the students. Give them little breaks, because the brain needs this little break. So give them a 2-minute break, a 5-minute break. Give them a stretch time. Give them a little comfort break. You're going to see the result. The result is going to be phenomenal. There's no point in you sitting there with them and teaching them for 15 minutes or an hour. It's not working. The brain doesn't work like that. Okay, so educators, find your win, amid the challenges, find the win, celebrate it, and make the most of it. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. I'm not too sure what time. It depends on when I have my little break. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Have a fantastic evening, afternoon, night, wherever you are. And educators, remember, you are now making a difference in students' life. You also have a lot of power, more than you think you do have. And you are doing this job for a reason. Remind yourself of the reason and the passion and your purpose. Don't give up on your students. They're all looking for you. They may not all tell you that, but look at their body language when they see the teachers. Anyway, guys, I could talk non-stop because I'm a chatter. Thank you, guys. Have a blessed day. Take care. Be blessed. Remember your passion. Bye-bye.